Good morning, team. We'll get started. Projects and Procurement Committee meeting Tuesday, 14th of April. I'll call for apologies. I presume that Ellie is an apology?
No apology.
No, you've got, okay. No apologies. Happy to move, don't need to move anything. Welcome to Kathy and Rosie from our community boards. Welcome. Identification of items of urgent business. Is there any? No. Matters of minor nature.
Thanks, Stacey. Look, I just wondered, Strathallan Corner, whether we can have a report on what's still left to be done there. Went and had a look this morning. There's still no screens on the toilet. There's metal frames for seats, but nothing to sit on. The plaques are still missing from the Bob Fitzsimmons statue. And I'd like to know who actually is running that project on our behalf now.
That's fine. I've had a discussion with Mr. Dixon, and so we'll, in minor nature, we'll deal with that at the end, if that's okay. Thank you. Any other minor natures? No one has talked to me about it. Okay, great. Any conflicts of interest? No? Excellent. Okay, confirmation of minutes from the meeting held on the 10th of March. I thought they were a true and accurate record. I'm happy to move those. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Jackson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Okay, we'll move to our reports. 6.1, Actions Register Update. I think that was all pretty self-explanatory there. We've closed out the tenders and procurement matters, and we've agreed that reporting will start in the new financial year and be quarterly from there on. So I feel that can be closed out. Is everyone satisfied with that? Yep. Excellent. Okay, and we do have the full and final report for the Agantai House Gallery report that will be presented today, and then that will be able to be closed out. So on that note, I'm happy to receive and note the updates in the action register. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Mayor Nigel. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jackson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. I welcome Sam up to the table. Report 6.2. And Justin, thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you. I'll just provide a brief summary on where the project is at the moment. The project is progressing as planned with scope, timelines and key milestones confirmed. Key activities remain on track with element time starting in April and the altitude upgrade and Citizen Central beginning in May, followed by the design and build in July. Progress to date includes finalised timelines, completion of prerequisite checklists and confirmation of key documentation with Civica. Upcoming activities will focus on stakeholder communication, progressing system setup and initiating element time planning. Thank you.
It's not so much a question, I think I might have asked last time. To someone reading this report that's not familiar, you'd have no idea what it is. Nowhere does it state what the idea of the project is. I mean, if you don't know, GL stands for General Ledger. I just think we just need what we're trying to do with the project, what it's about.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Chair. I have listed a reference table, I think on the last page, but I will add GL and define that more.
I just think up front, you've got to get all the way through the report. You're switched off, just in the terms of reference, what we're trying to achieve by this. All the technical stuff's there, but it's not the general overview of what's trying to be achieved.
Okay, so this is a regular report. So I think what you're saying, Councillor Piddington, is at the start of the report, we do have a background to what this project is about, which is obviously migration from the Altitude project. So we should know, you approved it. And so are you meaning more for the public or for yourself?
I'm meaning for the public. I've had a couple of people say, I read that report, you'll know what it is, but I have no idea. So it's just a general statement at the top, what we're trying to achieve. I mean, it's all technical terms, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just like we've said a couple of times, an executive summary.
Yeah, that's fine.
But just so that, again, I suppose what you're saying, if people are reading, what is altitude? What is Civica altitude? And what, just in general layman's terms, what they're trying to do. So, you know.
So like an executive summary of the business case?
That would be a real, and
Okay,
we
can
mean
do
a
that,
real
yep.
proceed summary,
Yeah.
not a big detail, yeah.
Absolutely.
So that somebody reads, oh, okay, so it's an IT thing they're doing into cloud and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Thank you.
And just do it at the start, right at the start of the report. Yeah, I think we'll put that as an action. Thank you, Megan. I just had one question, Sam, and that was page 24, and it's around phase 3, GL restructure. I thought that was a real priority for this project, and I see it's phased a long way down. So I just wondered if this was a key priority for our finance team, the restructure of that.
We've checked with finance and they would prefer that we do complete that project as phase 3, just to, what was the correct wording? It was to assist the LTP or work hand in hand with the LTP.
Timeframes for that one, so I was unsure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, when we talked with finance, they said that GL side of things, and the same with the authority contractors, that it can be done at the end, towards the end, to line up more with the rates, like if there's a rates review or whatever's happening in that area.
Questions? No? Okay, well, we're happy to receive a note. I'm happy to move that. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Burt. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Well done, thank you. Okay, moving to report 6.3, Art Gallery Building Work Final Report. I welcome Cara and Michael to the table.
Good morning, and thank you, through you, Madam Chair. In summary, the main takeaways, I think that the building works are complete, they're on budget, and most of the main objectives of the project have been met. There were some compromises along the way, and these will need addressing maybe potentially in the future. Also, due to the age of the building, there were some other issues that were identified during the process, such as the leaking in the main gallery, but this has certainly been fast-tracked as a separate project to address. Overall, though, the works are of a high quality, they've been well received by the community, and we're happy to share that the refurbished house gallery has been nominated for a 2026 Canterbury Architecture Award in the Heritage category, which is a real credit to the work that was done. And I think Cara has a few words.
This project has been a long-term staged program of work. The House Gallery was closed since 2017, and the priority was its seismic strengthening and reopening as a heritage asset for the community. Alongside that, there was earlier planning undertaken for a second stage, redevelopment of the 1978 extension, including feasibility work and draft designs. However, as part of long-term planning and discussions following COVID, that was not progressed. As a result, what has been delivered is part of a wider program, and now we're operating within that context. The project itself has spanned a significant period of time, with changes in scope, personnel, organisational structure across its whole life. As in common projects of scale and complexity, some decisions made during delivery have become more visible through commissioning and day-to-day operational use.
And so we're happy to take any questions, bearing in mind we're more the project clients than the project managers.
Thank you for that report. Obviously, it's been a project that's been in the public eye for quite some time. So it's good to get to the end, but my question is, are we actually at the end? Because we say that we've come in under budget, but in reality we've used a heck of a lot of our contingency to do that. And I see that there are still some ongoing risks: HVAC, roof repairs, noise mitigation, humidity control. So my question is the project truly finished?
Yeah, so we're scoping what it would take to mitigate some of these issues. We don't really know, I guess, closing out the project, where the authority lies. Perhaps it's with this committee. So maybe that's a determination you want to make.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Trainer. I think the follow-on question to Councillor Jackson is, who's leading this work now? Because I agree, that's on your page 34. This is quite significant work, the remediation of it, when it comes to your HVAC gallery, the house, and then the main gallery, your dehumidifiers and the leak. It needs concentration. So is that being led by you, Michael, as the GM, or are you going to get someone in to help support closing out?
We have been receiving support. That's from the Assets Infrastructure Group, and I believe they are aware of all the issues and are doing the scoping. Potentially Andrew could speak to that.
Yes, thank you. I think, as Cara mentioned, this is a long-term project and it's a staged area. There was, of course, funding allocated for the main gallery upgrade, and that has been deferred, and focus was on the actual house and any immediate works that needed to be done. So there are still a few little issues that we need to address, particularly around the roofing and some of the HVAC system of the main gallery. Yes, but we are working on that and getting that fixed. So I think, as you say, the project, it's the initial project, which was upgrading the Heritage House and doing that is finished. And it did come in under budget. There are just a few other auxiliary works that need to be completed. There is, and it's been done within the available funding.
Question that it isn't, because you're saying there's an issue with the house gallery HVAC system that needs to be remediated, so that isn't closed out. It's still being scoped because it didn't include an integrated humidity control, which is typically required for museum standard environmental conditions for the long-term preservation of artworks. So that obviously needs still to be addressed within the house gallery. So
I think this is actually the nub of why this report was to be done, and there's probably a piece in here that probably is a little bit missing, and that is, if there was to be lessons learnt from this project, you would have scoped the whole thing up right from where to go, and you would have put the whole thing out together. What we ended up doing was doing it piecemeal. And by doing it piecemeal, I think we've probably, there could be an argument that we may have cost ourselves money by actually doing it piecemeal. Like our lift is substandard, as far as I'm concerned. And then to have to then go back and look at HVAC systems, that should have been integrated into the project. So if these items are still sitting here, then we need to cost them up and look at what they require. But I think the biggest lesson here is, again, back when we started, the propensity to do things piecemeal.
I've just had a tour of the gallery this morning and I'm disappointed at the work completed. The lift's a joke. I mean, no one said, when they said the lift was going in, I expected a commercial lift because of its use. It's a household lift where the walls You go past them, you stand, you go up and down. It's inappropriate and doesn't work. You tap the walls and brick dust comes down because they weren't sealed. The paintwork's pretty shocking because no one has put some sort of fixer in between the walls and the wooden skirtings. I mean, you wouldn't accept it for your own house. But my biggest problem is we didn't have a skilled project manager on this that knew what they were doing. I mean, to put a heating system in and then put domestic humidifiers around it to balance what it should be, we dropped the ball right at the start. And I don't want to see projects going forward in this organisation without someone who has the skills to run them, because that's where it's fallen over.
We acknowledge that, and so this is one of the reasons why we have this committee now, to help support projects getting from the start and appropriately scoped. So I think we can always look back and learn, but from going forward we can't make these same mistakes. And I know these guys will acknowledge that. Now we've got remaining budget, and so I presume, Michael, that remaining budget will help support closing out some of these areas. You've said there's still 155,000 left in the budget, so you'll scope those up with the remaining budget. And what's the process from here, Mr. Trainer? We'll come back to this committee and we can go from there on what that cost is, or otherwise look at the annual planning process anyway. But I do want to acknowledge the report. It's an excellent report. It was very well detailed and it took us on a journey, and so I do want to acknowledge that. It was a very good report for a closeout report, so thank you, Cara and Michael, for that. And it's very tricky writing a report when it's not yours either, so I just wanted to acknowledge that, so thank you. Right, any further questions from the side? Yes?
Look, I think you're right, Councillor Scott, as far as what this committee's set up to do moving forward. And I think we've got to acknowledge that actually it's not the people, Michael or Cara, we need to be able to support facility managers when we're doing basic R&M and upgrades into the future. And that's why that project's priority that we've been talking about, the key personnel need to be given to these projects. So I think we've got the solution in hand, but we still need to fully scope out that. I'm assuming that Assets team will be helping, supporting Michael and Cara, so we can do that well and just finish this off for the community, because it's an amazing asset. And it is, I mean, inside the house, outside of the lift, it's just absolutely beautiful, and you know, you get some amazing feedback. So there's some improvements and learnings, but we still have to acknowledge a pretty cool project for the community.
Mr. Dixon will be supporting the closing out documentation too, because I presume that isn't an area of expertise for you guys when it comes to producer statements and, you know, all the consenting closeout that will be required, which is in your 62.1 point. So, Mr. Dixon, I was thinking you were not there, but you're right there, sorry. So I presume you will support these guys with the closing out of those documentation, because that is big.
That is correct, yes, and it's going back over what work has been done to date by a number of contractors and by a number of project managers that have been involved in this project. So, but we will get there, yes.
I don't want to have to put timeframes on it, but I know that you guys, you know, we don't want any more closing of the gallery for Cara and the team, so we need to make sure that we manage these 5 items well. So it would be quite good, and maybe when you come back with the scoping of the next phase, costs plus timeframes would be great. So if we can just put a bit of an action on that, Megan, that'd be great. Okay, thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay. So, yes?
Just quickly, just for the sake of the ratepayers who might be watching at home, so just so that we know, and I know you've already said it, but just so can we go over this again, we've got a facility that meets museum standard requirements now, yeah? As far as the ratepayers are concerned.
Cara says yes.
Cool. What do you say? Good.
We do have domestic units of dehumidifiers in the space, so we can keep it to the standard. Yeah.
Receive a note. I'm happy to move that from the chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Jackson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Okay, moving to report 6.4, Theatre Royal Museum project update. And I think we have, oh yes, we've got Mr. Haggith online and Mr. Cooper's going to join us at the table. So welcome, Paul. I will hand over to you to give us a quick overview of the Theatre Royal and Museum paper, please.
Good morning all, thank you very much. As you will see just by looking over the fences that we are well into the construction now. The
Can't hear you.
theatre which you... Sorry?
Need to speak up, sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay, is that better?
A little bit better, yeah.
Okay, I'll try my best. So we are well into construction inside the theatre, which you can't see from the street. We've now removed the auditorium floor, excavated for the foundations for the new floor, and that concrete will be poured Wednesday, which is tomorrow. There's some photographs at the back of the report which gives you a better indication of that. The museum, which is more visible, the foundations are now dug and the first wall panels, first precast panels, will be stood up by the end of this week. So you'll see the museum starting to take shape as well. Lots of off-site activity. So we have structural steel and precast concrete panels for both the theatre and the museum being fabricated. And they will start to progressively arrive on site and be installed over the coming weeks. So pretty well sitting on programme. We have made the conscious decision just to resequence one or two elements for logistics purposes, but with no effect to the completions. In terms of procurement, and that ties into risk, there is obviously an emerging risk globally of fuel crisis, fuel prices and shipping. It's not affecting us yet, but we are very cognizant of this as an emerging threat and looking at ways to mitigate it. For example, any items which are being shipped long distance from the other side of the world, we're looking to see if we've got the option to procure alternatives in the Eastern Hemisphere to avoid or at least mitigate the shipping delays. In terms of fuel costs, it's not affecting us yet. If the government does put any restriction or rations on fuel, then we would need to revisit that and see what the effect of that is going to be. Having said that, it's been the intent throughout this project, throughout both projects, to keep as much locally as possible. So that does mitigate the difficulties of fuel, albeit that plant does run on fuel. So in terms of procurement, we are, despite the global risks, we are remaining on target. Museum exhibition fit out, the detailed design is now complete, and those individual packages will be put out to tender over the coming weeks, and that's for museum cabinetry, glass perspex, AV, electrical units, and I'm targeting by the next PAPC meeting just to table some images of what is actually designed in that museum space, because it's pretty cool. Specialist suppliers are doing their thing, again off-site. So that is Stage Mark, who are fabricating the stage rig, Clouty and Vibrant, who are doing the AV and the theatre lighting, and John Herber out of Kaipai, who will be manufacturing the new stage curtains. So we're just measuring up with them now. Hopefully we're not too far from getting a new theatre manager on board to start to get some input into the operational element of things and identify any gaps or omissions that we might have made, and hopefully there aren't any, none that I'm aware of. In terms of design status, we talked last time about the change from the Powerglide to Schindler lifts. That change has now been made and costs absorbed. The lifts are an element which are coming from the other side of the world. We can't do a lot about that, but at least we've ordered them now to give them the best chance of arriving in time. Auditorium floor and foundations, there's some design changes there, which is not a bad thing. We did the excavation and found that the foundations under the existing columns are bigger and beefier than we anticipated, which means there's less underpinning and less foundation work to do there. It needs a couple of minor tweaks to the adjacent foundations, but overall that's a good thing. Consents and compliance, everything's now in place, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be going. Resource consent and building consents, we've got all the conditions on a register which are monitored on an ongoing basis to make sure that we're fully compliant. Programme progress, the project remains on programme. Underpinning and auditorium is slightly behind just due to some of the difficulties, but it's not critical path, and it's best to get that right than try and jump the gun too much. I've got the detailed construction programme now been approved by me as the engineer to contract. We have a schedule there of critical dates, which you can see everything's 100% done. If I've got the civil works as 98% in that table, that should actually be 100 because I've signed it off. And the next milestones are the completion milestones, which is great to see. Comms and media, Rachel is doing a sterling job with the website, and there will be signboards going up on the outside fences pretty soon, just to keep the public aware of what's going on. I've got a summary there of the project finances, which shows that we are still in good, healthy position. The contingency, which is declared there, is 2.7. I'm aware that is less than the 3.7 that was in last month's report. That's not that we've spent $1 million. That $1 million is in the construction cost forecast for the deemed variations, and I keep a detailed check on that. My philosophy is every time we need to spend $1, we save $1 somewhere else, and that is still the case. And those detailed cost reports are available outside of this meeting. MB funding, our drawdowns now sit at 11.37 million, which has been received and in the bank, leaving just $230,000 to be drawn down at project completion. The key risks I've probably touched on as we go as I went through there. The key risks are unknowns, and there are less and less unknowns the more that we dig out. We stripped the building out as far as we could before the contract started, per se. But now that the flooring has been taken up, yeah, there's, as we expect, a few foundation tweaks to make, but nothing huge or nothing that is giving me cause for concern. And then the two biggest risks are the emerging risks of fuel rationing, fuel crisis, and the knock-on effect to any shipping. Not seeking any approvals from the committee at this time.
Thank you, Paul. I'll go to questions.
I'll just also make a comment. The museum fit out, the displays, we're looking at closing. There's some, I can hear your background, Paul. We're looking at closing the current museum mid this year. The whole reason for that is our staff are required to actually do all the storytelling and the penning of the information that's going into the new displays. And if we don't get that done, then we won't be opening the new one in time. And there's a lot of work there that I think they're going to be struggling to get done.
I guess I'd say that's news, as Graham just said. I mean, we should be told of these things well in advance. Yeah, when the project, no one throughout this project has mentioned that, so that's all right. The other thing that's a bit of a red herring, Paul, is you've got the MB drawdowns 11.37, but we're writing off quite a chunk of that. So people reading this report will think 46 less 11 is 35.
No. We'll be writing off the costs of the previous scheme, and we had received funding from MB for that. So this 11 is going in to the current project to reduce our loans. Effectively, the previous scheme, which was abandoned, we did a lot of work on that, about close to $8 million, and we had drawn down quite a significant chunk of MB money, which was offsetting that. We're now writing off the WIP that related to that in our books. There's no cash moving, it's just a write-off to remove that from our WIP. That's what we're doing. The 11 million is the remainder of the MB that is going into this current scheme, the new scheme.
Paul, you've got the financials in front of you. What is the value of the drawdown from MB for this project?
11.37 minus 4.8, which is 6.57 to date. 6.57 plus 230 to come.
Councillor putting that in, that's what, of the 11 point whatever million, that is what is actually gone, what Paul's number he just gave us is what has gone into this project.
You just had a bit of background noise then. What was the number?
Apologies on the plan office. 11.37 minus 4.8. So 4.8 was in the previous scheme, which means that it's 6.57 that we've drawn down on this scheme.
The Chief Executive just said, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, well, we can get those numbers. I'm pretty sure it's in Paul's report that, yeah.
Councillor Piddington's talking about the process, though, aren't you? You're saying what's lost from this, this would read that 11.37 was downloaded, into this project, but there is a distinction of about 4 million that was before. So reading this, it might suggest that all that money's gone into this phase. That's all you're talking about, yeah.
I know it's mentioned in the report regarding hasn't been much in the way of any movement for fundraising. Initial meetings have been held, no definite direction or structure in place for that work stream. So do we know how that's sort of going at the moment? Is that going to work in with the new theatre manager? Is he going to have some sort of input into that maybe when the time comes? Anybody know?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's not a work stream of the project team. That was community-led, similar to what's happened at the stadium. Councillor Thomas may have a view, but there was some talks earlier on about pulling a group together, and I think Councillor Thomas, you were involved in that, and I don't know what stage they're at. The types of things we talked about were buying a seat and having your name on it, all those sorts of things to try and just raise the amount that was sought to contribute to the project. They seem to be that part of the community were very well coordinated and had a strong voice prior to this version of the project. But once this project was secured and went ahead, it's been reasonably quiet, and I haven't heard a great deal from that sector. So I'm hoping that when we get the theatre manager, Scott Gaddis, who's arriving 18th of May, he can start facilitating some coordination. That might be our role, because there seems to be a lack of it. And I would hope that when he gets here, we can get some more community engagement and actually get some runs on the board from that community fundraising aspect.
it's not a good one. And I know that you're probably bearing a wee bit of this, Chris, but when you look at everywhere else, it's the major stakeholder groups that are doing it and lead it, and it's not a public thing. You look at the stadium now and sport, and those stakeholders are all behind it and doing it. Museum was the stakeholders, Seabay was the stakeholders, those sorts of things, plus a few others. But yeah, it needs to be done. I think there's a public expectation that something gets done, even if it's a target of $500,000 or something. But and I know it's not the right time I suppose in terms financially, but it needs to be done.
My understanding is they've had a meeting and they've elected a person to lead that, a chair. Can't think of his name. He was a candidate for council. Ethan. Ethan is going to chair it. So at some point I'll make contact with Ethan to see what his plans are.
That what I am going to establish from the next meeting going forward is 5-minute public forums for our fundraising groups to come and talk about their achievements. So obviously the stadium, which is not what we're talking about now, will be in a position to come and talk for their 5 minutes every standing committee. So we will welcome Ethan and his group, and also the Museum Trust if they would like 5 minutes too. So I'm going to establish that from the meetings going forward from here. Councillor.
My understanding is that there is an expectation for fundraising, because I was in this chamber May last year when the submitters came with their submission to encourage this project to go ahead, and when the council at its time voted, it was said then that the submitters said that they would be bringing forward $2 million worth of fundraising. So when that was said then, a lot of us had the expectation that whatever that group is, that $2 million was going to be raised. And I think where the frustrations come in is that sort of died away, and now there's some resurrection trying to take place now. So I think there genuinely was a commitment verbally given of a $2 million fundraising. That's where it started, and I heard it here. That was why I think there is an expectation for it. I know it wasn't part of, it had to happen for the project to go ahead. It was an offer that was given that the people would be involved in a $2 million raise.
Thank you. Just there is a fundraising group that's is being established. It's just I'm not a spokesperson for that group, but it's just going through a legal process to try to sort of get themselves properly established to do this. There's a lot of still questions around what the scope of their activities will involve, and I think the last meeting that I attended, there was somebody was going to request information from the council from that group. So it's the group that's just here is the Friends of the Theatre Royal. It's an established group. It's been around for 30 years, and it has funded a lot of the upgrades and even maintenance that was done in the theatre prior to it closing down. But since it's closed down, that has gone into recess, that group, and so it's just getting re-established.
So I have received an email from the Friends of the Theatre that is being reformed, and they're going to provide a full list of the FF&E, that what is held in storage. They're going to provide a full list of project team, what the operating model will look like, what assumptions are there, when the monies will be raised. So they're going to be meeting in 2 weeks' time, and they're inviting someone to come along and talk to them. Okay, so it is up and running. And that was from Anne Ellis, Secretary.
I think it's important that someone is close to this, because I think there's the thought that this fundraising is to do extras, and I think you would argue that we are building and have scoped out a project that meets the needs of our community. And if a fundraising group thinks we need more, that would suggest we haven't scoped this project correctly. And so this really is about supporting all ratepayers and reducing our borrowings. And so I challenge this fundraising group to think about that, because if they're saying that we've missed things, then I'd be very concerned about the scoping of this project at this time. So, yep, we look forward to welcoming Anne then, by the sounds of it, to our next projects and procurement meeting. Mayor Nigel.
Yeah, look, I think it's great that this is established. I think it makes sense that it's the Friends and not just, I think in the past it's been unfair that we've just pegged it on the Drama League. Drama League have their own building that they've just fundraised a ton of money for. This is a public asset, and I think Friends is the appropriate one. I'm happy as an elected member, go talk with them and as well. I know others in this space are quite burdened already, so I'm happy to jump in there and with the appropriate officer, and we can direct them, but I think we just need to do that in person. Yeah, because this group has done a lot for that theatre over the years, and we need to respect that, and yeah, I'm happy to lead that.
Just a wee question on the Civic Trust. Where are we at with the talks on the Criterion Hotel?
Yeah, good, I had that too. Civic Trust and the Chinese Gardens.
Yeah, we're still looking at options on what we do. There's some interest in actually being purchased by a group, and the other option is demolishing it or building it into the project. So we're just working through those options at the moment and costing them up.
And the time frame for that, because I presume we'll start getting time critical on those decisions.
Yeah, I'm working with the project manager on the theatre to make sure that we're not going to impact that project and timeline. So yeah, but I intend to put a report up to council probably in the May meeting.
In tandem with this, I think we need an ongoing report on what our plans are for the old museum when we close it down, what's happening with the Royal Garden and the Criterion Hotel every 6 weeks, because otherwise we'll get to the end of the project and go, oh, what are we doing with those things? It should be happening now.
Check on the use of the old museum.
Thank you, Paul Higgith. Any further questions? I think that they were my questions. So if everyone is, we will receive a note, the Theatre Royal and Museum Project update. You happy to move that, Councillor Piddington? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wilson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Right, moving to report 6.5, the Arangi Stadium Project update report.
Okay, thank you. So Arangi Stadium projects are going very well. We have granted 10 days extension of time due to adverse weather. That's a contractual entitlement. It doesn't mean that time will be taken, but because of adverse weather, foundations were affected. It's not on critical delay, but under the contract is entitled to that time, should they need it at the far end. But at this stage, we're not anticipating that it will be needed. Health and safety, no incidents to report. We undertake regular health and safety audits through TDC's health and safety team as well, and everything comes back positive. Contracts and procurement status, same concerns that we have in terms of shipping, but having said that, most of the long lead items have already been ordered and shipped. So we have all of the sports flooring now arrived in the country and stored in Thompson's facility. All of the roof insulation, the HVAC units are on their way, as are the drop curtains and scoreboards. So they've all been ordered and shipped early in order to make sure that we mitigate any future shipping delays. Similar to the theatre, we are not yet being affected by fuel, but it is an emerging risk. Design status, not much to talk about in terms of design because it's already designed and being built. The steelwork and precast fabrication is ongoing at Thompson's facility, which we check in on from a QA perspective on a regular basis. At the last meeting, I did talk about options to mask and soften the inside walls of the stadium. I'm not in a position where I'm happy to present those options and cost yet, because they're not yet at a position that I'm comfortable with. Costs are coming in too high, so I will undertake to have fully costed options presented for a decision at the next PAPC committee meeting. Last meeting we talked about the function suite and the folding wall, so we've now future-proofed that at no cost, so that can be incorporated in and built in the future with no adverse effect. And the only other scope change which is standing out at the moment, the netball users have requested an additional 8 sets of netball posts, which means that we will then have 8 full fixed poles, 8 full pairs of fixed poles and 8 pairs of adjustable for youth play, which we can do at $8,720, and the contingency is comfortable to accept that should this committee decide that's the way we want to go. Consents and compliance, well, the building will continue to operate, the existing building, will continue to operate on CPU until we've got code of compliance for the whole facility. Programme and construction, section 5, you'll see everything there is green. That says we're pretty well on target, despite the contractual entitlement for some adverse weather days. We're pretty well sitting there on target, and no great change, in fact, hardly any change from last month in the budgets and finances. So we're still sitting there with 798,000 of contingency intact from the initial $1 million that we set off with. And nothing screaming out that is going to eat into that, so pretty comfortable with where that sits. Comms and media, again, Rich and the comms team have now got our websites up and going, and there's regular comms and social media updates about the project, which are pretty well received. Key project risks, just to repeat what I said, adverse weather remains a risk. We're going back into winter now, but having said that, in 2 weeks' time we'll be finished all the foundations, and steel frames and concrete will be going up, concrete panels on the main stadium. So the weather risk, while it's inconvenient, is no longer as potentially disruptive as it is while we're digging foundations and services. And just to repeat all of the previous comments on the emerging global risks associated with the Middle East, which we will keep an eye on, and also keep abreast of industry guidelines as to how we deal with those things should they become an issue. So the project approvals I was seeking from this committee meeting, one was the wall softening options, which I've deferred to next month, if that's okay, but then just the approval of additional netball poles at $8.5 at $8,720.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one thing, I'm pretty sure it's been mentioned before, but it's on page 68 of the report. There's a photo there of the 3 outdoor, is it 3 outdoor courts? Is there going to be a major wall right in front of those? Because if that's the case, over winter, are those courts going to see any sun?
Those, the idea is there's going to be 4 outdoor courts there for the community. So that one that you can see that's facing, that's what they call the main court when there was 14. So the idea is that the netball will end up having, the community will still have 4 outdoor courts for the tennis, the netball, kids on skate, learning to ride their bikes. And yes, it is a concern, but...
Black ice.
Yeah.
maybe in the winter time.
It's a pretty cold place up there anyway. But no, those courts will still be available to the community. Yeah. Part of this project back at the start. Yeah. That massive wall. Exactly. There's got to be some.
There is a
compromise.
positive to that the easterly won't get through to the...
Yeah, true. I just have a question, Paul. I presume Thompsons have had a look at the floor and make sure there's no damage coming all the way from Europe. We don't want to get to putting it down and they open up the boxes and it's all damaged. I presume we've had a good look at that.
Well, random inspections, yes, it's impossible to open every box.
No,
There's
no,
a warehouse full of it.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to open everything. But certainly the quality checks have been done on a random sample and everything's arrived intact. There's no obvious damage to
That's
any of the shipping, the packaging, etc. But it is literally a warehouse full of the stuff.
Okay, that's good. I just had, Paul, I have talked to Mr. Cooper about this today, and I think we're just still working our way through getting the reporting appropriate for us as governors here. And I think that I will need to just sit with you and just talk a little bit more about some additional reporting that may be needed, because we haven't quite got the balance between publicly excluded and public this time round. And just things around maybe like summary of variations, what are deemed, what are elective, and our PC sums across both of these projects. And I think like remaining contingencies, dollars versus percentages is probably missing there. And any emerging risk or forecast overruns, I think would be really good to be seen in this report. So as a governor, we still have that visibility. And I think we probably need to, when it comes to the escalation sort of trigger, just working on, what does constitute material when it comes to either cost or from a risk perspective. So I think the report is good, but I still think there's just a little bit more detail as a governor that we may need to make sure we are satisfied that these projects are still running well and that we identify any risks at an early stage so there's no surprises.
That's fine, Councillor. I mean,
yeah.
I've got my...
Well, we don't get that,
sheets.
so that's good for
so
you.
It's however much of that detail that is appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely no, you have that. I'm just saying at a governance level, we don't. And so we just need to get that balance right. But other than that, two good reports. Yeah. Right, do we have any further questions to the stadium project? Great stuff. Okay, happy to receive a note. Councillor Wilson's happy to move that, and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Burt. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay,
Sorry, Madam Chair, there was one decision there, which is the netball post purchase of. That was one thing we were seeking from this committee.
Councillor Piddington's happy to move that. Councillor Wilson is going to second that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried.
Okay.
No, that wasn't.
Thank you.
That's not in the resolution, That's all right. We'll get that one written up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cooper. Okay, so just moving through this, consideration of urgent business items. We didn't have any, so now I welcome Mr. Dixon up for minor nature on Strathallan Corner update, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the update of the Strathallan Corner, there are 5 basically items that are still outstanding. We have the plaque, the Bob Fitzsimon's plaque, and that apparently is going to be installed this week. It has been refurbished and will be installed and will be bolted to the structure to make sure that the vandals don't try and get it off again. With these screens, they have been made, and there is just some brackets to be fabricated, and apparently they will be installed next week. The seating that is reliant on the bluestone, the completion of the bluestone, and that is one area we're having issues with in getting supply. Apparently the bluestone cutting machine has failed and is under repair at the moment and causing us a bit of delay there. The light poles are the last thing, and that is they have been fabricated, the bases have been wired up, it's just a matter of getting them installed. I haven't got an installation date at this stage, but I'll be pursuing that one and will be done by the end of the month. I'll make sure of that. So yeah, I'll be taking over the project. The project engineer who was running this project no longer works for council. So we'll be managing that and getting this to be completion. On a positive note, I guess we are, or positive and negative, we are using all local contractors and local suppliers on this job, but that has actually caused us a bit of issue in the fact that we've had many contractors. There's no one overarching contractor accountable for the role, and it makes it difficult to manage at times. We would not run a project like this again, to be honest. I think there's a lot of lessons being learnt on this one. The other lesson is that we probably started this earlier than we should have, and that was because we were chasing government money. So we got $300,000 out of the tourism fund, and there was some time restrictions on that, and we sort of started sooner, and it was almost designed as on the hop. So I guess that's another lesson learnt there, and it's applied not to this project, but has applied to other projects as well where that government money is available. It does put restrictions on you in regard to timing. Just the other thing note is the CBD group is actually very pleased with the look of the project down there, and they are going to be undertaking to install planter boxes around there, and they will also pay for those and maintain them. So it's a good, we've now got good ownership among the CBD people. So any questions? Have I answered?
Thanks, Andrew. Can we have it as until it's completed, as a project to be reported on every 6 weeks? Let's hope the next report is it's finished, but it just keeps sliding.
Are you comfortable with that, Mr Dixon? Just a summary, an update for
Yes.
the next meeting?
I'll definitely do that, yes. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned here.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Megan, just note that. Thank you.
Not 6 weekly.
6 weekly, and definitely not weekly. Yep, me and Nigel are happy to move that. Thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay. Do we have to move minor nature? Yes? No, I don't think we do. Okay. Thank you. Right, well that closes out our public part. Well, I'm happy to move us into publicly excluded. Seconded by Councillor Jackson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you.